A man can be the best hitter in baseball or the best pitcher in baseball. But for over a century, nobody believed one person could be both. Then a quiet, soft-spoken player from Japan signed a contract so large it broke the sport's economic logic entirely, and baseball has not looked the same since. This is not simply a story about money. It is a story about how one athlete forced an entire industry to rewrite its own rulebook, reconsider what a human body is capable of, and confront just how much a singular talent can be worth when it refuses to be boxed into a single role. To understand how strange this moment truly is, you have to go back to a sport that has spent 100 years insisting on specialization. Pitchers pitch, hitters hit. The two skills are treated as separate professions that simply happen to share a uniform. Teams build entire training systems, medical staffs, and player development pipelines around this separation, because the physical toll of doing both at an elite level was long considered unsustainable. Babe Ruth famously did both in the 1910s and 1920s, but even that legendary chapter faded as the game modernized and specialization became doctrine. For decades, the idea of a two-way player at the highest level was treated less like a possibility and more like a nostalgic footnote. Shohei Ohtani did not just challenge that doctrine, he dismantled it in full view of the public, season after season, until skepticism turned into astonishment. Born in Oshu, Japan, Ohtani grew up idolizing pitchers and hitters equally, refusing to see them as separate identities. His high school coaches noted his unusual insistence on training both disciplines simultaneously, a decision that would later define his entire professional identity. When he entered Japan's Nippon Professional Baseball League with the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters, he made it clear from the beginning that he had no interest in choosing a lane. He wanted to pitch and he wanted to hit, and he wanted to do both at a level nobody had convincingly done in generations. By the time Major League Baseball teams came calling, Ohtani had already proven in Japan that his hybrid approach was not a gimmick. He posted pitching numbers that rivaled the league's best while producing power at the plate that made scouts genuinely uncertain how to categorize him on their reports. When he signed with the Los Angeles Angels in 2018, there was excitement but also lingering doubt. Analysts wonder whether MLB's higher-level competition, tighter travel schedules, and unforgiving injury risks would eventually force him to give up one side of his game. Instead, Ohtani spent years quietly proving the opposite, becoming an MVP-caliber hitter, while also functioning as a frontline starting pitcher, a combination that had not been seen in the sport's modern era. His unanimous American League MVP season in 2021 became a turning point in how the baseball world understood him. He led the league in home runs while pitching effectively as a starter, a statistical anomaly that forced writers, executives, and former players to reconsider what elite athleticism could look like in this era of the sport. It was not simply that he was good at both. It was that he was excellent at both simultaneously, in real time, under the exhausting rhythm of a 162-game season. Commentators began comparing him not to modern players, but to Ruth, a comparison that felt almost mythical until Ohtani made it feel literal. Yet even as his legend grew, questions about durability persisted, and they were not unfounded. In 2023, Ohtani underwent a significant elbow procedure that limited his pitching duties, raising uncertainty about his long-term two-way future. This is where the financial story becomes inseparable from the athletic one. As Ohtani entered free agency after the 2023 season, teams face an unprecedented question. How do you value a player whose brilliance is not confined to one discipline, whose marketability spans two continents, and whose ceiling might still be rising even as his body demands difficult decisions? The answer arrived in December 2023, when the Los Angeles Dodgers signed Ohtani to a 10-year, $700 million contract, the largest in the history of North American professional sports. The number alone was staggering, but the structure of the deal was just as revolutionary as the player it was built around. The vast majority of that contract, an extraordinary 97%, was deferred, meaning Ohtani would receive only a small portion of his pay during the active years of the deal, with the bulk of the money paid out long after his playing career had ended. This structure allowed the Dodgers to maintain financial flexibility for other player acquisitions while still locking in the singular talent, reshaping the sport's economics in real time. The deferred structure sparked debate across the baseball world. Some praise it as an innovative model that could allow big market teams to build even more dominant rosters around a superstar willing to sacrifice short-term earnings. Others express concern that it gave large revenue franchises a competitive advantage that smaller market teams simply could not replicate, since few players possess Ohtani's unique combination of global appeal and on-field dominance needed to justify such an arrangement. This tension reflects a broader and ongoing conversation in professional sports about competitive balance, revenue sharing, and whether financial engineering can unintentionally deepen the gap between wealthy and modest franchises. What makes Ohtani's earning power even more remarkable is that his $700 million contract is only part of the picture. His endorsement portfolio, including partnerships with major global brands, positions him among the highest-earning athletes in the world when off-field income is included. This blending of on-field dominance and global commercial appeal has drawn comparisons to figures like Michael Jordan and Cristiano Ronaldo, athletes whose value transcended their specific sport and became cultural phenomena. In Japan, Ohtani's success in Major League Baseball has elevated him into a symbol of national pride, with his games regularly drawing enormous television audiences and reshaping how baseball is marketed across Asia. Beyond the financial headlines, Ohtani's return to two-way play in 2025, after recovering from his surgery, marked another milestone that many doubted would ever happen. Watching him step back onto the mound while continuing to anchor the Dodgers lineup offered a vivid reminder that his story is not just about a record-breaking paycheck. It is about redefining physical limitations that the sport had, accepted as fact for generations. Every start he makes and every home run he hits chips away at the assumption that a professional athlete must choose a singular identity to survive at the highest level. His impact extends into how front offices now think about roster construction, injury management, and long-term contract negotiation. Teams have begun studying deferred payment structures more closely, not necessarily to replicate the exact numbers, but to understand how flexibility can be built into modern superstar contracts. Analysts have also pointed to Ohtani as a case study in how global marketability can influence contract negotiations, since his appeal in international markets adds a layer of value that traditional performance statistics alone cannot capture. Sport economists have noted that a situation may quietly influence how future generational talents negotiate their own contracts, particularly those who bring similar crossover appeal between countries and cultures. There's also a quieter, more human dimension to this story that often gets overshadowed by financial headlines. Ohtani has remained notably private about his personal life, avoiding the celebrity spotlight that so often accompanies athletes of his stature. Journalists covering baseball have frequently noted his calm, measured public demeanor, a contrast to the extraordinary scale of his achievements and earnings. This restraint has only added to his mystique, allowing his performance on the field to speak louder than any personal narrative he might otherwise share. In many ways, his humility mirrors the quiet determination that pushed him to pursue two disciplines when the sport told him to choose one. As baseball continues into this new era, Ohtani's presence forces every franchise to reconsider long-held assumptions about specialization, health management, and financial strategy. Whether or not another player ever matches his unique blend of pitching and hitting excellence, his influence on how the sport approaches talent evaluation and contract negotiation is already permanent. The $700 million figure will likely be remembered not simply as a record, but as a symbol of how far one individual can push the boundaries of an industry that once insisted such boundaries were unbreakable. In the end, Shohei Ohtani's story is not only about wealth or statistics. It is about the quiet defiance of limitations that once seemed absolute, and about what happens when a single athlete refuses to accept that greatness must be confined to one lane. Baseball has been shaped by legends before, but rarely has one person forced the entire sport to reconsider its economics, its physical assumptions, and its global reach all at once. Whatever comes next for Ohtani, his impact has already rewritten what is possible, leaving behind a legacy that future generations of athletes will measure themselves against for decades to come.